Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Bottom over here, and today we are going to be doing something different. We are going to be reacting to the presidential debate. It's already started, so let's jump into this.
There's been a lot of very
Nerd number
divisive, dark things said about Muslims. And even someone like Captain Khan, the young man who sacrificed himself defending our country in the United States Army, has been subject to attack by Donald. I want to say just a couple of things. First, we've had Muslims in America since George Washington.
Exactly.
And we've had many successful Muslims. We just lost a particularly well-known one with Muhammad Ali.
We will all
My
miss
vision of
Muhammad
America
Ali.
is an America where everyone
Muhammad Ali.
has a place. If you're willing to work hard, you do your part, you contribute to the community. That's what America is. That's what we want America to be for our children and our grandchildren. It's also very short-sighted and even dangerous to be engaging in the kind of demagogic rhetoric that Donald has about Muslims. We need American Muslims to be part of our eyes and ears on our front lines. I've worked with a lot of different Muslim groups around America. I've met with a lot of them, and I've heard how important it is for them to feel that they are wanted and included and part of our country, part of our homeland security. And that's what I want to see.
Wait, does he have blue eyes?
It's also important.
And she's also blonde and
I
blue.
intend to defeat ISIS.
We got two blondes
to do
running
so
for
in a
president.
coalition with
We're
majority
dead.
Muslim nations. Right now, a lot of those nations are hearing what Donald says and wondering, why should we cooperate with the Americans? And this is a gift to ISIS and the terrorists, violent jihadist terrorists. We are not at war with Islam. And it is a mistake, and it plays into the hands of the terrorists to act as though we are. So I want a country where citizens like you
At least she's
and your
speaking
family
sense.
are just as welcome as anyone else.
Thank you, Secretary Clinton. Mr. Trump, in December, you said this. Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on. We have no choice. We have no choice. Your running mate said this week that the Muslim ban is no longer your position. Is that correct? And if it is, was it a mistake to have a religious test?
First of all, Captain Khan is an American hero. And if I were president at that time, he would be alive today. Because unlike her, who voted for the war without knowing what she was doing, I would not have had our people in Iraq. Iraq was a disaster. So he would have been alive today.
Look at your hair, man. That's a
The Muslim
disaster.
ban is something that in some form has morphed into a extreme vetting from certain areas of the world. Hillary Clinton wants to allow
And
hundreds
why
of
did it
thousands-
morph into
excuse-
that? No,
excuse
did
me.
you? No, answer the question.
Why don't
You
you
still
interrupt
believe?
her? You
I do.
interrupt me all the time. Why don't you
Would you
interrupt her?
please explain whether or not the Muslim ban still stands?
It's called extreme vetting. We are going to areas like Syria where they're coming in by the tens of thousands because of Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton wants to allow a 550% increase over Obama. People are coming into our country like we have no idea who they are, where they're from, what their
You just
feelings
said where
about
they're
our
from, you
country is.
idiot.
And she wants 550% more. This is going to be the great Trojan horse of all time. We have enough problems in this country. I believe in building safe zones. I believe in having other people pay for them. As an example, the Gulf states who are not carrying their weight, but they have nothing but money, and take care of people. But I don't want to have,
Gulf states
with
don't
all the
have any
problems
money.
this country has, and
Well,
all of
actually,
the problems that
California
you see
didn't
going
pay the
on,
taxes.
hundreds of
and they're
thousands of
rich.
people coming in from Syria
point.
when we know nothing about them. We know nothing about their values, and we know nothing about their love for our country.
And Secretary Clinton, let
Islamic
me ask
people
you
are
about
actually very
that.
nice.
Because you have asked for an increase from 10 to 65,000 Syrian refugees. We know you want tougher vetting. That's not a perfect system. So why take the risk of
It's just
having
the
those
people
refugees
who are
come into
in the
country?
countries where they're
First of all,
from.
I will not let
They're so
anyone
close
into
that
our
we just
country that I
associate
think
them with each
poses
other.
a risk to us. But there are a
She's
lot
jumping
of
into his
refugees,
camera frame.
women and children. Think of that
There it
picture
is.
we all saw of that 4-year-old boy with the blood on his forehead because he'd been bombed by the Russian and Syrian air forces. There are children suffering in this catastrophic war, largely, I believe, because of Russian aggression. And we need to do our
Russians are
part.
defensive.
We by
They
no
aren't really
means
aggressive
are
unless
carrying
they get
anywhere
attacked.
near the load that Europe and others are.
They hit hard though when
But
they
we
get attacked.
will have vetting that is as tough as it needs to be from our professionals, our intelligence experts, and others. But it is important for us
That
as
face,
a
no.
policy, not to say, as
now he's
Donald
frowning.
has said, we're going to ban people
My
based
face
on a
thing is
religion.
hitting his face.
How do you do that? We are a country founded on religious freedom and liberty.
And yet people
How
still
do
make
we
fun of Mormons.
do what he has advocated without causing great distress within our own country? Are we going to have religious tests when people fly into our country? And how do
Exactly.
we expect to be able to implement those? So I thought that what he said was extremely unwise and even dangerous. And
You're
indeed,
both
you can look at
dangerous.
the propaganda on a lot of
Look
the
at that
terrorist
kid, he's
sites. And what Donald Trump says about
No,
Muslims
they're both idiots.
is used to recruit fighters because they want to create a war
What the heck
between
is-
us. And the final thing I would say, this is the
Por
10th
qué?
or 12th time that he's denied being for the war in Iraq. We have it on tape. The entire press corps has looked at it. It's been debunked, but it never stops him from saying whatever he wants to
Has not
say.
been debunked.
So please
Has not been debunked. And
go
I
to
was against-
HillaryClinton.com and you can see it.
I was against the war in Iraq. Has not been debunked. And you voted
HillaryClinton.com?
for it, and you shouldn't have.
Wait,
Well,
what?
I just
There's
wanna
been lots of
say-
fact checking on that. I'd like to move on to an
Excuse me.
online question.
She just went about 25 seconds over her time.
She
Could
did
I
not.
just respond to this, please?
Very quickly, please.
Hillary Clinton, in terms of having people come into our country, we have many
It's Roast Fest
criminal
number 2,
illegal
boys.
aliens. When we want to send them back to their country says we don't want them. In some cases, they're murderers, drug lords, drug problems, and they don't want them. And Hillary Clinton, when she was Secretary of State, said, that's okay, we can't force it into their country. Let me tell you, I'm going to force them right back into their country. They're murderers and some very bad people. And I will tell you very strongly, when Bernie
Why
Sanders said
is
she
she
had bad
smiling?
judgment, she has really bad judgment because we are letting people into this
What the
country
heck are her
that are going to
cheeks?
cause problems and crime like you've never seen. We're also letting drugs pour through our southern border at a record
We already
clip.
got Chavo, don't worry
At a
about it.
record clip. And
Is it
it
Chavo or
shouldn't
Chavo?
be
I
allowed
forget.
to happen. ICE just endorsed me. They've never endorsed a presidential candidate. The Border Patrol agents, 16,500, just recently endorsed me. And they endorsed me because I understand the border. She doesn't. She wants amnesty for everybody. Come right in. Come right over. It's
If
a
you do
horrible
anything
thing
wrong,
she's
we
doing.
shoot you in the
She's got
foot.
bad judgment, and honestly, so bad that she should never be president of the United States.
Neither should
Thank you,
you.
Mr. Trump. I want to move on. This next question comes from the public through the Bipartisan Open Debate Coalition's online forum where Americans submitted questions that generated millions of votes. This question involves WikiLeaks' release of purported excerpts of Secretary Clinton's paid speeches, which she has refused to release, and one line in particular in which you, Secretary Clinton, purportedly say
Their
you need both a
faces.
public and private position on certain issues. So, two from Virginia asks, is it okay for politicians to be two-faced? Is it acceptable for a politician to have a private stance on issues? Secretary Clinton,
Well,
your 2 minutes.
right. As I recall, that
One.
was something I said about Abraham Lincoln after having seen the wonderful Steven Spielberg movie called Lincoln. It was a master class
Why is it
watching
Steven
President
Spielberg?
Lincoln get the Congress to approve the 13th Amendment. It was principled and it was strategic. And I was making the point that it is hard sometimes to get the Congress to do what you want to do, and you have to keep working at it. And yes, President Lincoln was trying to convinced some people, he used some arguments. Convincing other people, he used other arguments. That was a great, I thought, a great display of presidential leadership. But, you know, let's talk about what's really going on here, Martha, because our intelligence community just came out and said in the last few days that the Kremlin, meaning Putin and the Russian government, are directing the attacks, the hacking on American accounts to influence our election. And WikiLeaks is part of that, as are other sites where the Russians hack information. We don't even know if it's accurate information, and then they put it out. We have never in the history of our country been in a situation where an adversary, a foreign power, is working so hard to influence the outcome of the election. And believe me, they're not doing it to get me elected. They're doing it to try to influence the election.
Oh, this is just annoying. That face and that face. And the spinny wheel of doom. Your schnitzel. That guy right in the back. Is that person right there at Donald's elbow photoshopped in? That just looks like a perfect cut-off, like, Photoshop right there.
For Donald Trump. Now, maybe because he has praised Putin, maybe because he says he agrees with a lot of what Putin wants.
Who the world is Putin? I'm gonna have to search that up afterward.
To do, maybe because he wants to do business in Moscow. I don't know the reasons, but we deserve answers, and we should demand
Moscow. His face right there. Now that is a dank meme.
Donald release all of his tax returns so that people can see what are the entanglements and the financial relationships
we're going to get to that later.
He has
Secretary
with
Clinton,
Russians and
you're out
other
of time.
foreign powers.
Well, I think I should
Mr.
respond
Trump.
because it's so ridiculous.
Oh,
Look.
it's still. Shh, it's alright. Let me pet your hair. It's fake.
Now she's blaming. She got caught in a total lie. Her papers went out to all her friends at the banks, Goldman Sachs, and everybody else. And she said things, WikiLeaks, that just came out. And she lied. Now she's blaming the lie on the late, great Abraham Lincoln. That's one that I haven't. Okay,
There's one difference between Donald and Abraham Lincoln. Wait, no, 3, 7, 23.
That's a big, big difference.
One.
We're talking about some difference.
Abraham Lincoln
As far as
was not a racist.
other elements of what she was saying,
Number
I don't know.
2.
I think it would be great if we got along with Russia.
Abraham was
because we could
actually
fight
smart.
ISIS together as an example. But I don't know.
Like, let me be for real
But I
here.
notice anytime anything wrong happens,
Look at this man.
they like to say the
Does
Russians.
this
She
look
doesn't know if it's the
intelligent
Russians
to you?
doing the hacking. Maybe there is no hacking. But they always blame Russia. And the reason they blame Russia is because they think they're trying to tarnish me with Russia. I know nothing about Russia. I know about Russia, but I know nothing about the inner workings of Russia. I don't deal there. I have no businesses there. I have no loans from Russia. I have a very, very great balance sheet. So great that when I did the old post office on Pennsylvania Avenue, the United States government, because of my balance sheet, which they actually know very well, chose me to do the old post office between the White House and Congress, chose me to do the old post office. One of the primary things, in fact, perhaps the primary thing, was balance sheet. But I have no loans with Russia. You could go to the United States government and they would probably tell you that because they know my sheet very well in order to get that development. I had to have. Now, the taxes are
Poor
very
man
simple
and
thing.
a killer.
As soon as I have, first of all, I pay hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes. Many of our friends took bigger deductions. Warren Buffett took a massive deduction. Soros, who's a friend of hers, took a massive deduction. Many of the people that are giving her all this money that she can do many more commercials than me gave her took massive deductions. I pay hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes, but as soon as my routine audit's finished, I'll release my returns. I'll be very proud to. They're
Thank you,
excellent.
Mr. Trump.
We're on turn, actually, the topic of taxes. We have a question from...
I think I'm gonna have this as the whole video. If you guys would like me to do any more, I'll just do it later. So leave a comment down below what should I react to next for reactions. See you all in the next episode. Bye.